Okay, I apologize for our little bit of a delay. As you can see, we're still trying to we got some members conferring in the hall. We're still trying to get our quorum present in the room. We're going to go ahead and get some of the formalities out of the way. This is the House Governmental Affairs Committee meeting today. We are planning to have multiple meetings this week. At the present, we have meetings scheduled for today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And what we get through, we'll have agendas each day. We have an agenda today. We'll get through as much as we can. Today, there is a Rules Committee meeting at 5 o'clock. Our Legislative Council has to go to another meeting at 5 o'clock, so we will have a hard cutoff at 5. So I'll ask everybody's cooperation, if so, presenting bills and in our discussion. It will be very helpful to try to get as many things in as we can at this point. I'd like to get us started, if we can, with a word of prayer. If y'all will bow with me, please. Dear kind and Heavenly Father, God, we thank you, Lord, for each and every day you give us on the face of this earth, God. We thank you for the opportunity to stand here, God, and work with your thoughts and processes in mind, God, on behalf of the people of Georgia. We ask that you'll be with us and give us wisdom, discernment, and moderation in this endeavor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, before we get to our first hearing, with at the risk of verbal and possibly physical retaliation, I'd like to recognize the First Lady of the 10th District, my wife, who's sitting in a corner over here. It's going to be a long ride home now. So, and her name is Kim. So, welcome, Kim. Thank you. I'm going to ask Representative Al Williams, if you would like to come on. We'll go ahead and let you present House Bill 1177, and I do believe we have a sub to that. So if you will, Representative, give us the LC number on the sub.
Kim presents this bill.
Proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be working from LC 474107S. When we presented this bill, there were a couple of suggestions made, and we've come up with a substitute. The only change to the original bill that I discussed is that it's moving from 80% of the federal poverty level to 175%. That was per recommendation of Representative Monahan. And that's it in a nutshell, and a peanut shell at that.
Okay, sir. We're going to recognize Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify, it was 80% area median income before, and now it's 175% poverty level, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All righty.
Okay. Representative Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Williams. This is a bill that is brought forward to give more opportunities for more purchasers of more homes. We need more doors and we need more opportunities, totally within the discretion of local development authorities to decide whether or not they want to invest in finance single-family homes. I think we all have a recognition that we need more options of housing, and particularly, perhaps maybe more so in rural areas, this may be an opportunity for development authorities. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving us attention on this bill, which is part of a package of bills coming forward to produce more doors, more options.
Thank you. All right, Representative Mary Frances Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the proper time, I'd like to offer a motion.
Okay, let's see. Nobody on this? Okay, we have no one signed up to speak to the bill, and there's no more committee questions, so now would be the proper time. So we have a motion to pass.
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Bill moves forward, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to let Chair Lady Lisa Hagan come up and we'll present House Bill 1260.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I regret that I have to follow that incredible Representative Williams and his perfect bill. But I have House Bill 1260. It is the same that we had as subcommittee, no changes, LC 443449S. And just as a reminder, in Georgia Code currently, newly elected officials must take some required training that is provided mainly by the Carl Vinson Institute of Government in cooperation with ACCG and the Municipal Association. I've worked with all three of those entities to put some teeth into that section of our code. Currently, there's no penalty if one does not opt to take that training. So that is simply what we've done here, is add the penalty that you see in sections 1 and 2 for counties and 3 and 4 for municipalities, that they have a period of time where they can get their training completed, and if they choose not to do that, then they would not receive salary compensation or reimbursement of expenses until they do so.
Okay, any
That's it.
questions on the part of the committee? Seeing none, we have no speakers signed up for this bill. Do we have a motion? What's the will of the committee? Move to pass. Do we have a second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill
Thank you.
moves. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, next we're going to invite Chairman Jaspers to come up and present 1299, House Bill 1299.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I'm glad to be before you today. It's a fine afternoon. For many years, I was the vice chairman and then the chairman of the Rural Development Council. It was a great honor and I enjoyed it a lot. One thing we always worked on were ideas and concepts that help rural communities and their hospitals. We did a lot of different bills, and I think many of them helped rural Georgia a lot. The bill before you today, House Bill 1299, comes from the Georgia Alliance of Community Hospitals. House Bill 1299 would allow hospitals operating under the Georgia Hospital Authority Act to be able to create a joint venture with physicians who would like to partner with the hospitals to operate a group practice with the hospital. There are about 48 hospitals that operate under the Georgia Hospital Authorities Act. The only way to do a joint venture is through corporate restructuring, which is very expensive. Currently, that's the only way to do it. This bill would allow them to do so without the legal expense to restructure. This bill will allow rural hospitals another opportunity to pick up income and provide first-class medical care in their community. I will say the first time I looked at it, I had a little confusion of what it did, but it's a very simple little bill. It will allow those 48 hospitals to work together with physicians in their community, and I appreciate their opportunity to let you to allow them to do so. There was a question, someone asked me a moment ago what the Hospital Authority Act was. This is an act that allows cities and counties to create public nonprofit entities to operate hospitals and health care in their areas. That's my bill, Mr. Chairman. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions on the part of the committee? All right, seeing none, 1299, we have no one signed up to speak to the bill, so, we gotta take her. Representative Valalier.
Thank you, Chairman. If it's the appropriate time, I'll have to make a motion to pass.
Okay, we have a motion to pass. Do we have a second? All right, we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, bill passes.
Thank you,
sir.
committee.
Okay, we're gonna move down the agenda just a little bit right now. We're gonna take up House Bill 1447. Chair Lady Beth Camp, if you'd like to come present your bill. You may proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Today I bring to you House Bill 1447. I'm looking at LC 620437. This bill simply says that every 10 years, any taxing body, whether it be a county, city, or school board, has to look to see if there are ways to improve the administrative cost and other things that involve the taxing, what it costs the consumer, what it costs the taxpayer, to see if there is some way that they possibly could reduce up to 5% of their administrative cost. And in the event they don't do this once every 10 years, so this is just once a decade, then ultimately they could lose grants through the Department of Community Affairs for failing to do so once every 10 years.
Okay. Do we have any questions on the part of the committee? We do have one here. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this legislation. Just a quick question. When you talk about the evaluation of current administrative costs and employee headcount, does that include all personnel of a local school system or just the taxation administration?
Well, my understanding is the taxation body for the school board, for example, all employees are privy to the taxation body. And furthermore, 99 counties in our state actually have a shrinking population versus a birth rate. So there are some counties or some cities and some school districts it's going to impact more over time, or maybe not. We're going to have to just look and see. I would love for rural Georgia to have a great resurgence in those 99 counties, get back some of the population so you wonderful folks that live in Metro Atlanta wouldn't have your traffic situation. But balancing it out, sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense for a county of 15,000 people to have 5 cities that operate. So looking at that and making sure we're doing what's right for the taxpayer, I think is where this bill comes from.
Got it. And so you said every 10 years, so the first review would be in 2037?
That would be correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Chairman LaHood.
Thanks, Chairman. On line 13, it says a local taxing body shall conduct a comprehensive review. Will they be reviewing themselves, or are you asking for a third party to do the review?
No, they'll be reviewing themselves, and so they need to assess the current, if you look on 16, current administrative cost, employee head count, and technology usage compared to other similar sized jurisdictions in the state. And then number 2, an evaluation whether consolidating any specific operations with neighboring or overlapping local taxing bodies would result in a reduction of at least 5%. And then 3rd, to determine whether to initiate a formal consolidation feasibility study. So they're reviewing that themselves, but they have to turn this in and submit it to the Department of Community Affairs. So they'll be overseeing.
And so is your intent for all 500 plus cities and counties to review themselves every 10 years?
Yes, and 180 school districts, yes.
Gotcha. All right. How do you pick 10 years?
Well, 10 years is how often we do a census. 10 years is just kind of a benchmark. There are other states that are successfully doing this, and quite honestly, this is where this information came from.
Okay. I like the concept. Curious, have you coordinated any of this with GMA and ACCG, or are they in support of this?
I have heard that they are still getting feedback. ACCG is still getting feedback. I have not been specifically approached by GMA or the School Board Association.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Mary Frances Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also like this bill. My question is very similar to Chairman LaHood's. Did you consider having these reviews done by an independent source? because that's the only thing that catches my eye, that they're reviewing themselves. And it looks like I'm looking on page 2 at lines 21 through 27, and it looks like a report is done. I'm trying to figure this out. So a report is done by Community Affairs or the local taxing body?
The local taxing body, I'm so sorry, but the local taxing body, taxation body would be putting this together. And again, they're having to look at the similar sized jurisdiction. So if it's a school district that has 3,000 children, for example, then what are other school districts with 3,000 children? What are their costs? And so that's kind of, they'll have to determine that. I guess DCA will be the one looking most closely at it, but they'll have to do the review themselves. We don't have a third party, but that certainly could be added. I'm just not sure who it would be.
Yeah, so, well, and then you say the local taxing body. So in Cobb County, does that mean that the Cobb County Board of Commissioners would make this available? And I'm trying to figure out where the authority is.
Well, the taxation body, the Constitution of the State of Georgia, or through code, we've given the taxation bodies, which are school districts, counties, and cities. Those are the taxation bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be doing it themselves. It wouldn't be up to the county commissioners to look at the schools or the cities. It would be up for each to do their own review, and that review would be sent to the Department of Community Affairs.
I like your bill very much. I think some systems are more transparent than others with their expenses, and that is my only concern, that they're going to do their own review. And I don't necessarily have I wish there was a way to have a third party review for some of those systems that are less transparent. But I don't have a specific recommendation, but I do like the bill very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see no other questions. We do have one person signed up to speak to the bill, Mr. Noah Renitz with GMA. If you will come to the podium, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chairman Anderson. Members of the committee, my name is Noah Ranitz with the Georgia Municipal Association. Representative Camp, thank you for being here presenting the bill today. We were able to have a very brief conversation, and I think in the middle of last week, regarding this legislation as it potentially related to service delivery strategy negotiations. When we talked about kind of the 10 years, a question was offered in committee about why 10 years. Well, 10 years stands out to us at the local government level because it's the timeline under which cities and counties across the state of Georgia have to go through negotiations about services that are provided. To ensure that there are no duplications of services, to ensure that revenues that we are generating at the local level are being distributed in a fair and equitable manner to provide those services. When I first read this bill, I thought this would be something that could potentially be a part of that process itself and would make a lot of sense. I think hearing what we've talked about a little bit about today in committee is that there would be some concerns that we could potentially augment the language, that these reviews are being conducted in silos, right? Every entity of local government, the cities and the counties, are asking to do an assessment of their own administrative costs or head counts or technology uses, and then a further evaluation about whether consolidating with any specific operations with neighboring jurisdictions, right? So is every single city expected to look at every single neighboring city within its county and even external to its county to see if there's the potential for overlap or provision of duplication of services? I'm not sure. I think there could be a little bit of clarity that we could seek there. Tying this to service delivery strategy negotiations makes sense, but and Chairman LaHood is here today. He is well aware of the work that we've done over the past 2 years to really fundamentally rewrite a lot of SDS law. 2 years ago, we had House Bill 513, which was the first major overhaul to SDS law in multitude of years, and we had follow-on legislation. Service delivery strategy. Service delivery strategy negotiations. So tying this into that may be a little bit of a precluding factor because us and ACCG, we tightly negotiated what that bill would look like and what those powers would look like, but that may be a better place for this. I'm not speaking here today in support or against this legislation, maybe just speaking to some potential amendments should the bill move forward and conversations we're happy to continue to have. So thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Chairman.
And I apologize, I had completely forgotten he spoke to me as I was leaving a committee meeting.
No problem. Thank you. All right, no questions. All right, that's everyone who signed up to speak to the bill. We've been through the committee questions. What's the will of the committee? We have a motion to pass. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. We're in discussion. I'm going to recognize Chairman Thomas.
At the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a small amendment to the committee.
This is the appropriate time.
I'd like to add one more between lines 17 and 18. I'd like to add an evaluation of a utilities bond structure. If I did that, that would also require me to change the number 2 to the number 3 on line 18 and the line, or the number 3 to the number 4 on line 21.
Okay, so the motion to amend is to add a new line 2 between 17 and 18. And how is that to be worded exactly?
Okay. An evaluation of a utilities bond structure. That would be the exact words that would be used.
Okay, so we're adding a new line 2, which will state an evaluation of a utilities bond structure, and then renumbering 2 and 3 to 3 and 4.
And for those that might not know, that's the type of revenue bond. It's used to finance public infrastructure projects. And in this case, they would look at like refinancing bonds, possibility ways of saving some money. And so that's the reason why I'm asking for the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion on the amendment. Do we have a second?
Nobody seconded me.
Second. Okay, we have a second on the amendment. Do we have any discussion on the proposed amendment? I see no lights discussing the amendment. What's the will of the committee? All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposition. So now we're back to the underlying bill as amended. No further discussion showing on the screen. What's the will of the committee? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Okay, now we're going to move on, and we're going to ask Representative Scoggins to come up and present House Bill 1384. And guest. Just, if you don't mind, when you get to the table, introduce yourself and proceed when you're ready, sir.
Members of the committee, my name is Keenan Rogers. I'm with ACCG here. We're in full support of this bill. I just wanted to thank Representative Scoggins for bringing it, as it's one of our members' top 3 legislative priorities this year. So I will let him start, but thank you for having me today.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is House Bill 1384. We do have a sub. Hope everybody got a copy of it. It's LC 560637S. Okay, you good? Okay. This is about, ladies and gentlemen, this is about franchise fees. I don't know if I brought a copy of my power bill from my electrical service provider, which happens to be Georgia Power. But if you look on your bill, it has municipal franchise fees on your bill. Everybody gets that, or most everybody gets that. No matter who your service provider is, it could be an EMC, it could be Georgia Power, any others. Several of the towns have MEAG corporations, which they don't send out a franchise fee, but this is a franchise fee that's, the amount is pretty much set by the PSC, which is set at 4%, and that means that the city people who live inside the city, no matter who their provider is, gets a fee of 3%. The people who live outside the city in the rural areas like I do, they get a 1% surcharge or franchise fees. So after this was brought to my attention by my county commissioner, I got to looking at it and trying to figure out how it went and why I was getting a municipal franchise fee on my utility bill. And the reason is that they started doing that, from what I can understand, back in an agreement in 1962. So this is a pretty old law that has been in place for a good while. And the thing is that I live in my place of dwelling. I live 17 miles from the city. I get no city gas. I don't get city water. I don't have street lights. They don't pick up my trash, any of that. So I don't get anything from the municipality. But yet, my 1% of my franchise fee goes to the cities in my county. And I just couldn't, and I haven't had anybody to explain to me what benefit I get out of that by that 1%. Me being a rural county person gets on my utility bill. What benefit I get out of that? And nobody has been able to explain that to me yet. So this is a short bill. It's pretty complex in nature because a lot of the cities have contracts with whoever their service provider may be. You're probably going to hear from municipalities that they use that money to mow their right-of-ways and keep up the poles and all of that inside the city limits of whatever town that may be. But if you think about it, the cities don't go out and help mow the right-of-ways in the county where the poles are coming from the power plants or other places that go into the city. They just concentrate anything that's done inside municipality. So this bill is basically giving the county 1%, which is 25% of the 4% that they're allowed to do under the Public Service Commission. And that's pretty much what the bill does. And
Yes, thank you, Representative. I want to highlight kind of what he said. Our member's main concern is the disparity surrounding this. Like he said, that 1% does not go back towards the counties. It's local dollars with no local benefit. Kind of one example of that is the city of Gainesville currently maintains about 160 miles of roadway, yet they receive about $5.1 million in franchise fees. Hall County maintains 1,050 miles of roadway and receives $0 in franchise fees. So we're just looking to align revenue with responsibility here, especially with a lot of large load customers coming on. That's going to affect our unincorporated areas as that industry grows and the utilities are built out on that. We just want our piece of the pie.
Okay, we got a couple of questions shown here.
Yes.
Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this legislation. So, quick question: does this apply to municipalities that have public utilities as well, or is it just ones that don't?
you talking about they have municipal electrical? No, they don't. If they had a franchise fee, they would basically be charging themselves.
Got it. Makes
Okay.
sense. Just making sure.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I'm assuming, so lines 30 to 35 are the new sub. I'm assuming that was to. Does this apply? What counties does this apply to? The 75% incorporated area?
That would be the larger metro counties that,
Right.
that have at least 75% of their municipalities that cover the whole county. So that wouldn't apply to them.
Got it. Yeah, that was one of the questions I had on the original bill, so I'm glad this sub has this. So thank you for this. This is a good bill. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Chairman Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, on lines 32, 33, I want to make sure I'm reading this right. I actually do have a municipality that falls between Cherokee County and Fulton County. And from my understanding, anyone that lives in that area would not be subject to this exchange on the 1%, correct? I mean,
Anybody that lives-
I just want to make sure because I like my Cherokee money staying in Cherokee County.
I do too. Thank you very much. No, it would not apply.
Okay, thank you.
And in no way, form, or fashion does this raise a utility bill. The franchise fee amounts would not change. The only thing we're asking is how we divide the pie. The county should get their 1%. I'm okay with the city getting their 3%.
Okay, thank you. Representative Oliver.
Forgive me if I'm missing something here, but do we have a dollar calculation as to how much money this is going to shift from the cities to the counties?
It varies on the size of the cities that, how much electricity they use, so it varies. There's not a dollar amount.
Y'all haven't done Georgia Municipal Association hasn't said this is going to cost me X billion dollars.
I haven't heard from anybody about that.
There's a transfer of money here from,
It is.
and I'm just trying to figure out who benefits the most.
It's hard to put the amount on there because it changes monthly based on the usage. So there's no way, I mean, you could look at previous years to see how much was paid to the municipalities. But the thing we're not wanting to take away from the city, but we're wanting the county residents to get the benefit from their franchise fee being on their utility bill, and it stay in the county and not go to the city.
We've talked about this a lot over various years in various contexts.
I heard a
and
lot of
this-
stuff about it.
Yeah, this may be a good move. I'm just curious where the dollars go, how much and where.
It would change year to year.
Okay, thank you. No other questions showing on the board. We do have one speaker signed up to speak to the bill, Mr. Jim Thornton with GMA. If you'll just come forward to the podium and introduce yourself and proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Jim Thornton with the Georgia Municipal Association. I appreciate Chairman Scoggins' concern over this issue and was glad to actually spend some time with him in his office last week talking about this bill. I'm sure it will not surprise you to know that GMA is opposed to this bill. Franchise fees are basically rent for the use of city-owned streets and right-of-way. Cities own, control, and maintain those streets and those right-of-way, and utility companies use that right-of-way to hang power lines, poles, et cetera, to generate revenue. In exchange for that use of the right-of-way, the utility companies, not just power companies, but utility companies generally, pay a rental charge, a franchise fee for the use of that right-of-way. That could be negotiated in a number of different ways, but the way that, as Chairman Scoggins mentioned, over the course of the last few decades, the cities and the electric companies, so this includes Georgia Power Company as well as all 41 EMCs, they have, in working with the Public Service Commission, which regulates the rates for Georgia Power Company, they have agreed upon, rather than doing some type of per pole or per foot rental, to just say 4% of the sales as an approximation of that rent. I think it's important to know that how a utility company chooses to recover that cost from their customers, from their ratepayers, is their decision. The cities don't dictate that. And in the case of Georgia Power Company, which was referenced, their cost recovery is regulated by the Public Service Commission and reviewed on an annual or biannual basis. This bill would redirect a portion of that locally negotiated revenue to counties that do not own that right-of-way, did not negotiate the agreements, are not responsible for maintaining that property. So the result is basically a windfall to the counties from the use of city-owned right-of-way. And I think there are 2 points I want to make, and I'll be glad to answer questions and go into some more detail as well, but I think it's critical to know that this is not a simple bill. This is an incredibly complex bill that affects about $250 million of annual revenue to the question on a statewide basis. Now, with the carve-out that has been placed in the sub of 75% municipalized county, we believe that only applies to Fulton County. There are no other counties that we're aware of that the land area is 75% municipalized. And so that would basically carve out the Fulton and the cities of Fulton, but it would apply to everybody else. So it would apply in Decatur, Woodstock, Marietta. It would apply across the state. And the impact is significant. Even carving out the 15 cities in Fulton County, we think you're probably approximating $200 million that's left. But the other point I want to emphasize is we're talking about two totally different transactions here. We're talking about the fact that the city has negotiated for a franchise fee for the use of that particular city's right-of-way, and they only receive 4% based on the sales that occur in that city. So the city of Decatur only gets 4% franchise fee from the sales that occur in the city of Decatur. The city of Marietta only gets 4% from the sales that occur in the city of Marietta. That's the negotiation that's taken place between Georgia Power, the 41 EMCs, and the various cities. It's compensation to the public for the use of public right-of-way. But then once that transaction occurs, there's a totally separate transaction where the EMC boards, there's 41 of them, and Georgia Power Company, in negotiation with Public Service Commission, decides how they want to recover that cost from their ratepayers. My understanding is that many EMCs do not recover that cost from all of their ratepayers, but they simply say if you're in the city of Woodstock and you're a Cobb EMC customer, then you pay on your bill the 4%, and that's a direct transfer. Georgia Power Company, back in the day, and you could have to ask them to explain the history of all of this, but back in the day, Georgia Power Company, they socialized the entire municipal franchise fee across all of their ratepayers. So it didn't matter if you were in the city or in the unincorporated area, you all paid the same share. They treated it just like if you're paying property tax to Bartow County, and you pay property tax and sales tax to Bartow County on the plant they have in Bartow, that cost is paid by residents of Cherokee and Floyd and everybody else because they take that as a cost of doing business. If Georgia Power Company rents a building in downtown Atlanta, they take that cost, even though it's in Atlanta, but they take it across their entire rate base. That's what they used to do with municipal franchise fees. But beginning in 2007, they decided, actually, we want to split it, and we want to have some of that cost recovered from our municipal ratepayers and some from our unincorporated ratepayers. And on an annual basis, they negotiate that with Public Service Commission. It right now is, I think, about 1.18% is charged to unincorporated and 3.07% is charged to municipal residents. Now, that is not something that any city in Georgia has any control or authority over. That is something that Georgia Power does in consultation with the Public Service Commission on how they're going to cost recover for that cost of doing business, the municipal franchise. That is a totally separate transaction. But to the point that was made about Hall County, if a large manufacturer locates in unincorporated Hall County, Gainesville, Georgia does not receive 1 penny more from that project locating in unincorporated Hall County. If that project located in the city of Gainesville, then the 4% franchise fee would apply, and that's what Gainesville would receive. So Gainesville and Hall County, or any other example you might pick, have no control over how Georgia Power then recovers that cost. If that's a large load customer, for example, then Georgia Power and the EMC, probably is that Jackson EMC, or I'm not sure who covers that here, but the EMC and Georgia Power, they could compete for that load. Well, guess what? Georgia Power Company has chosen to split the recovery between municipal and unincorporated customers. Jackson EMC hasn't. So Jackson EMC's rate is completely determined by whether it's in the county or in the unincorporated area. So I think we need to understand that this is significant revenue. This is significant revenue to 400 and something cities across the state, even if you carve out Fulton. It's compensation to that city for the use of their right-of-way. I understand that ACCG and the counties want to be compensated for the use of the right-of-way in the counties. That is a totally separate discussion, because if they wanted to impose a franchise fee in the unincorporated area, that's something the legislature could authorize them to do. Historically speaking, when power companies started hanging up poles and running power lines, they didn't want to buy right-of-way in the cities. They wanted to use the existing right-of-way. That made sense. They agreed to pay the public for the rental use of that right-of-way. That is the historical analogy. We've talked with ACCG, we've talked with the counties. If they wanted to bring a bill that would allow them to impose a franchise fee, my guess is it's possible that Georgia Power Company might, if they agreed to pay Bartow County a franchise fee for customers in Bartow County, Georgia Power might very well want some of the municipal ratepayers to recover that cost as well. That's a discussion between Georgia Power and the Public Service Commission. That's not something that GMA or the Georgia cities have any control over. So we just think you should recognize that cities are exercising their lawful authority to control their right-of-way. Not only do they have to mow the grass and all of that was referenced, but they're also liable for that right-of-way. If an accident occurs on city-owned right-of-way, the cities are potentially responsible for the for the damages. I know some of y'all have heard about the litigation in the Milton case. Georgia Power Company and Georgia EMCs both filed briefs in support of the city of Milton because they're concerned that if liability becomes a big factor for cities, they might go up on that charge, or they might try to renegotiate, or they might try to have some other response, because ultimately cities are responsible for the liability for that right of way. But this fee, I want to go back to my final point, is this fee only applies, and cities only receive money for the customers that are located in the city. The city of Cartersville has no authority to collect any revenue outside the city limits of Cartersville. They collect 4% for the sales that occur inside Cartersville. They do not apply a franchise fee to anything outside of Cartersville. But then Georgia Power Company has chosen to split it, saying that part of this is related to Cartersville. Part of it is to the fact that we, Georgia Power, and all of our customers benefit from being able to cross power lines through the city of Cartersville. And this is revenue that would be redirected without any comparable response from the county of what are they going to do to justify that. If they want to talk about county franchise fees, that's a different discussion, but this is a straightforward matter of cities managing their public right-of-way, and how the cost recovery is done, I think, is a different discussion for a different day. With that, I know I said a lot. I tried to get through it quickly because I know you're limited on time, but certainly be glad to answer any questions from the committee.
Okay, we do have a few questions, Mr. Thornton. Chairman Thomas.
Thank you. I do have. I've been very confused about these. You're saying that a franchise fee is basically to pay rent for. But so okay, and that's your head nodding. So I'm going to take that as a
yes. That's correct.
But the cities don't own that land. The people that live in the city owns that land. They're the taxpayer. The taxpayer owns that property. But what I find weird, and this is where I kind of get stuck in this circle, is we'll say the power provider has to pay rent to the city to pay the taxpayer, but then that taxpayer then through a pass-through has to pay as the ratepayer, then turns right back around and are paying themselves. I'm just like it just seems like kind of a really convoluted way to raise taxes without just putting it on a millage rate, and that's been kind of my heartburn about this whole thing anyway. But am I wrong?
I appreciate the question, and I think you're absolutely right in the sense that the franchise fee is actual revenue that comes to the cities, and if it wasn't there, it would have to be supplemented by property tax. There's probably that's the alternative. The distinction is, do you want the cost for maintaining and the liability and all of that and the ownership of the right of way to be apportioned on an ad valorem value, or do you want it to be apportioned on a valuation of the actual use, right? The actual electric use. And this comes into play, particularly, I know several references were made to MEAG cities and so forth. Even inside MEAG cities, franchise fees are paid because they're paid if the customer is a Georgia Power or an EMC customer. And a lot of times those are large industrial loads, and so those large industrial customers are paying their 4% of that franchise fee. So it's not just the residents. Those large industries are paying as well on the franchise fee, and that actually inures to the benefit of the residents, because the residents of the community are having their property tax value lowered essentially because of the offset of the franchise fee revenue. If that, I realize
here's
it's
what I'd
complicated.
say. I don't think we're going to solve this today, but I'd love to talk to you about it a little bit more offline.
So, Mr. Chairman, to that point, I mean, last year the Senate actually passed a resolution for a study committee to look at franchise fees. It was one of 6 or 8 study committees the Senate created. They did not staff it. I'm not sure exactly why, but certainly I think this is an incredibly complicated discussion. I think I've probably seen 5 or 6 different iterations of franchise fee draft bills over the last 6 months. I recognize that the counties have a right to receive compensation for the use of their right of way, but that's not what this bill does. What this bill does is give them 25% of the rent that cities have negotiated with Georgia Power and with all 41 EMCs. And I think that's important to note because this bill does not distinguish there. So the 3%, 1% distinction that was made, that only applies to Georgia Power Company. The EMCs, because their rates are not regulated by the Public Service Commission, they can recover or not recover the costs in their board's discretion. In fact, I was talking to one of the EMCs, and their board used to do very similar to what Georgia Power does and spread the cost across their entire rate base, but a few years ago decided that they would just apply it only to the municipal. That is a different conversation than what this bill does.
And for the sake of time, like I said, I'd like to talk about that with you maybe a little bit after session's over with. And this is the House committee, so we'll make sure we get something done. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. And I understand where you're coming from, where it comes. It's not necessarily the city's fault that unincorporated residents are being charged for this. However, they are still being charged, and so I do feel like there has to be something to help remedy that. I'm not sure. To me, it makes more sense. This is the 25%. If to me feels like it's coming from the fact that they pay 1% and the others pay 3%. But I understand that there's certain EMCs. You're saying that there's certain EMCs that do not charge unincorporated folks anything, correct?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct. And that 1 in 3 split is something that has been negotiated between Georgia Power Company and the Public Service Commission. And you know, so I understand where you're coming from in terms of, yes, that they are treating it not as a municipal tax or a municipal fee. Georgia Power is treating it as just another cost of doing business, like buying bucket trucks or like buying, renting buildings or buying coal.
Right.
They're treating it as a cost of doing business, but that's something they're doing. That's not something that Marietta or Smyrna or anyone else has done.
Yeah, as usual, Georgia Power ends up being the bad guys in this situation. But regardless, I do wonder if it might be better to do something around, like, if they are being charged, then they would be remitted. But I don't know if that's something that we can do in this time. But thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Okay, Representative Valalier.
Thank you, Chairman. Jim, thank you for your remarks. I'm trying to, on one hand, I can understand the sentiment of not wanting unincorporated residents to have to pay that fee. I keep circling back to the question that Rep. Oliver asked, feels like 30 minutes ago. I'm
Did I go that long? I'm sorry.
I'm trying to wrap my hands around the size and the scale of that remittance transfer. I have some numbers for the city of Atlanta, which would lose roughly $13-14 million. How you fill that hole, either through an increase in fees or an increase in property taxes, I don't know. But across the board, statewide, do you have a rough estimate of what that transfer
the number that I have is from 2024, so it's dated. But the number I have from 2024 is a total statewide impact of $257 million. Now, Atlanta is the largest by far component of that. But just some examples: Marietta receives $4.4 million in franchise fee. Marietta, of course, is a MEAG city, but they also have Cobb EMC and Georgia Power customers inside Marietta. Valdosta receives $3.5 million. Brookhaven and Dunwoody are both around $3.2. Pooler receives $2 million. Sewanee $1.6. I mean, I've got the numbers here and what we don't have, we'd have to drill down deeper, is we don't have how much of that is coming from Georgia Power customers and how much is coming from EMC customers. And that distinction matters, but EMCs, the 41 EMCs, actually have more customers, I believe, than Georgia Power on a per residence sort of basis. But a lot of their customers are in unincorporated areas, but they do have very much customers in cities as well, particularly in some of the newly created cities that are primarily formerly EMC customers. So it's a big number statewide, and I feel like that this is an incredibly blunt way to solve what may be an issue worth talking about, but talking about it by just a simple
we definitely got to talk
transfer.
about it.
A simple transfer is not the solution.
We definitely got to talk about it. The mandated transfer is where I'm getting, where my kind of antennas like perk up, because I do live in the city of Atlanta, and given that impact to the city and city services, it's something that I've got to pay attention to. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We do have one more speaker. I'm just going to, just for the benefit, because there are a lot of questions regarding this bill, we're going to do this hearing only today. We will have a couple of more meetings this week if needed, so if we can work out some things.
Can I respond to him?
Let's, Chairman Saines, what was your question for?
Really to both the cities and the county, but I can hold for the author, of course, whatever your desire is.
Okay.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay, you know, as our friends over in GMA stated, that the cities do own their own right-of-ways in their cities and towns, and but the county owns their right-of-ways too. If you ride up the road, the power poles and the power lines don't stop outside the city of Cartersville. They stop when they get to the county line, as far as I'm concerned, because of the fact that the county taxpayers, and he has yet to explain to me what benefit that my little franchise fee that I get on my power bill every month benefits me. Nothing benefits me from that, not one thing. And I agree that you know, there was this study meeting that was supposed to be formed over in the Senate last year, and it didn't get manned up, so I understand that, but the franchise fees were a way for the service providers to get around having to get a business license every year. That's what they're originally done for. But these service providers, they do business out in the counties just like they do the cities. That's the thing that's not fair about the whole thing. The whole thing's not fair because county residents, everybody in my county, when we're all Georgia Power people in my county, we get that franchise fee on our power bills, but it all is divided up among the cities in Bartow County. And that's what's not fair about it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Chairman Saines, did you? Yeah, I recognize you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a long day, but it's an interesting circle. Just to clarify, the county's position with a different bill related to revenue sharing of trooper tickets is that revenue should stay as it currently is in place, primarily because that's how we've been doing it. I don't know if the author might not be aware of that, but ACCG might. Is that an accurate depiction?
I know we had another one of our members speak on that this morning. That's not my policy area. I definitely don't want to put words in their mouth, but we just know that we like our piece of the pie in our pockets.
Thanks.
Everybody wants their piece of the pie. All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Well, I would encourage a little off.
Did you have one more speaker, you said?
No, that was everybody on the bill. That was it. Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it, committee man.
All right, now we're going to move on to House Bill 1386. We're going to invite Representative Dawson to come to the table. Yes. Representative, you may proceed when you're ready, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, colleagues, thank you for having me here today. You all should have a handout with letters of support and also with a map infographic that explains the simple mission of this legislation. We're here to talk about a fundamental, pragmatic principle that everyone in this room understands. That's local control. Last year, I sat in this very building and I co-sponsored a bill with our Speaker Pro Tem, Jan Jones. We gave the northern cities in Fulton County a simple, powerful tool. we said, if you want to be the primary architect of the development in your own backyard, you can. Today, this bill, HB 1386, is being heard to finish the job we started last year. Speaker Pro Tem Jones is back as a co-sponsor because she knows, and I know, that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. We have 15 cities in Fulton County. Why should some have the power to protect their tax base while others are forced to watch from the sidelines? Also, I want to be clear today about what this bill is not. What this bill is not. It's not an appropriation. There's zero state money moving here. This is not a mandate. We aren't forcing a single city, to do a single thing. We are lawmaking conservatively with fairness in mind. This doesn't even require a fiscal note. What this bill is, this is a bill about choice. It's about optionality, right? Right now, Invest Atlanta and our municipal authorities in the south and central parts of the county are watching their tax dollars get abated by a county-wide authority that doesn't always share their local vision, right? They've seen the success of this legislation last year in the north, and now they've come to us and said, we want that same tool in our toolbox, and it's just a tool. This bill will allow all 15 cities, not just the 6 that are already having this right, the other 9, a total of 15 in Fulton, if they choose to pass a resolution to opt out of the Fulton County Development Authority oversight. It gives them the final say on property tax abatements in their backyards. And with everything we're doing with property taxes in Georgia, this is going to become increasingly more important. And think about the impact of this. When a city can manage its own deals, it ensures that every tax break is a surgical investment in schools, roads, and the community's future. It stops the race to the bottom where developers play one authority against the other. So this is just a clean-cut, common-sense tweak to the law to ensure synergy across the entire county. It's a legislative cleanup, great legislative cleanup for the biennial as well. Let's give our local leaders the agency they deserve to build stronger cities. So that's succinctly what this is about. I'm asking for your favorable consideration. If there's any questions or points of clarifications, I'm more than willing to discuss those. We'd love to discuss them, and there may be some people to speak to the bill today.
Okay, thank you. Representative Sanchez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Dawson. So I understand that currently it's just North Fulton that is applied to this, correct, because of legislation last year?
Yes.
And so you're spreading this to the whole of Fulton. Is there a reason that it's just Fulton County and this is not a statewide bill?
Yeah, let's go to line, this is what's called the bracket bill. It's a general bill, so it didn't go through local legislation. So the Legislative Council to designate Fulton County, if you look at line 12, there's the term massively municipalized counties. Say that 3 times fast, right? Massively municipalized counties. What that means, this is a county where you have 2 or more cities that take up over 95% of the land mass. Right now, Fulton County is the only city that meets that. And no time soon, or county that meets that, no time soon will there be another county that meets that. Maybe if Leader of Stration creates another Mulberry, they'll get closer in Gwinnett. But until then, this is really a Fulton County thing.
And follow up on that.
Yes, sir.
So is there a reason this is not local legislation? Does the local delegation approve of this? Or?
I've socialized this to the Fulton County delegation, the Atlanta delegation. It's the general bill. I'm not introducing new legislation. I'm tweaking the legislation that already exists, so there was nothing to introduce. You see the line strikes on page 2. We're just saying we're striking out the northern, opens up for the central and for the southern cities, and then it makes it active upon those municipalities passing a resolution.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see no other questions. Wait, hold on, we do have one. Representative Bazemore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the author, question: has all of the mayors in the cities that this would affect, have they received the initial bill? And I understand there's a sub.
There's no sub from me. It's just this bill. I'm not offering a sub. There are lobbyists who offered amendments that I rejected as not germane to the legislation. So there's no substitution. This is the legislation. To answer that first question of yours, your second question was, have all the mayors been made aware? We've had the conversation, and you'll hear from some of them today and their representatives. Invest Atlanta is here. They're the largest development authority in Georgia, one of the largest ones in the United States of America. You have their letter of support here. And then also the city of South Fulton, which is the second largest city in Fulton County. Their development authority is here in support as well. And I have talked to all of the mayors and invited them if they had any reason to speak out to be here. I haven't had any opposition on my record.
So thank you for your answer. As the chair of the City of South Fulton delegation, I was not aware of the bill until a couple of days ago. I had not seen it. So that was my concern. And then today, I found out that many of the mayors are not even aware that there's a bill. So that's my other concern.
Yeah, well, a couple of days ago, I know I socialized this in the delegation meeting and the Fulton County meeting and the Atlanta meeting over 2 weeks ago, so you should have been aware. And regarding those mayors, again, I've talked to them. I don't have anyone in opposition, and they're all invited here. They all have a copy of legislation. I could think if they were in opposition, they would be here. I think we have some speakers signed up. I'd love to hear from them.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to answer. So, heard about the bill, was not given the bill to even read or see until a lobbyist presented it to me on the ropes. As the chair of the City of South Fulton delegation and the vice chair of the Fulton County delegation, I had no clue. And then understanding today, as I talked to many of the lobbyists, finding out that many of the mayors, which this is going to affect, they don't even know about the bill. So that's my concern.
Okay, Speaker Pro Tem Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative, for the bill. I had a question. Would you agree that the bill is purely permissive, and that if any city, including the city of Atlanta, which visited me and definitely wants the bill, but that if any of the mayors and city councils in South Fulton did not want to exercise the rights that the bill would permit them, that it would be completely within their control to not pass a resolution adopting the provisions in the bill?
Madam Pro Tem, I think you summed that up well. It's just this is just a framework. This is not a mandate. It's giving you a tool, giving every city in South Fulton a tool. If they want to use it, they use it, but that's up to them. If they use it, they have to pass a resolution. So we're not dictating anything. I think it's fair. I think it's good government. I can't wait to hear from some of these speakers as well. Thank you.
Representative Oliver.
Are there any joint development authorities in Fulton County?
There are not, and this bill also wouldn't.
This bill
be
would
subject-
allow joint development authorities.
No, it's not the subject of joint development authority. So, like,
Tell me
making
how it prohibits the development of joint
it's
development.
expressly in here. Let me find the line.
Saying Invest Atlanta is the largest in the United States, I'm thinking about the joint development authorities that are now being created that seem to be taking over positions of power across the state that exceed individuals. I'm trying to put that together in my mind. If all the northern part of Fulton County wants to create a joint development authority, we're in a new world.
Yeah, but this bill expressly disallows that, so.
Tell me where it
Yeah, let's
disallows
sign
it.
that line. I had it here. Here it is. It just only relates to a massively municipalized county, first of all. So there's no joint development authority in our county. Then further, without, there's it, line 13. There it is, right there, it's jumping off the page. Line 13, without a consolidated or unified government. So to have a joint development authority, you have to have a consolidated and unified government. So to be
I'm not
subject
sure
to
of that.
this,
I'm not sure of that.
yeah, I'm positive, respectfully.
It's a new world of joint development authorities, and I'm trying to.
And legislative counsel is here if we want to hear from him, but I'm 110% certain, 100%, you can't have a joint development authority under this
I'm
legislation.
trying to think of anything where I'm 110% certain in this building.
Okay, thank you. Representative Alalие.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Dawson, thank you for bringing the bill forward. I'm caught in between this hard spot of the substance of the bill, which I can't even begin to wrap my head around because I have not yet looked at what the option to those northernmost cities in Fulton County, whether that has been a net positive or a net negative to the county. That's neither here nor there. To the point that Madam Pro Tem made, it does provide the option. It's not a mandate. And I am a big believer in terms of fairness. If there's certain cities that have the option to choose, it's hard for me to sit here and preclude other cities and community leaders and duly elected officials to do what they feel is in their heart, in the best interests of their communities and their residents. I'm interested to hear more from both sides. This has been a hot topic of the day. I've heard from many, many people on both sides, and I'm educating myself on the fly. But I am someone who's been a big proponent of home rule and preserving the right and choice and decision-making power of individuals to be able to determine their own fate. Versus it's not my, I don't live in South Fulton, and so it's hard for me to say what's best for you all. I'm hopeful that during this conversation we're able to flesh out a more accurate picture of what the actual impact from a developmental standpoint will be, not only to South Fulton but to the county writ large.
And let me add that this only pertains to property tax abatements. That's the issue. So in my city, South Fulton, where I live, we've had $34 billion and $34 million in tax abatements, $34 million just this year. And those were negotiated by the Fulton County Development Authority. So it just gives us, we just got a huge Amazon $500 million deal, $500 billion with the B deal to come down. So if Fulton County wants to say to Amazon, hey, we'll give you 10 years tax abatement and it's gonna cost me $15 million a year. This is what we're trying to give the city a say in, just those property tax abatement, that's it. It's really simple if we talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay, Speaker Pro Tem Jones.
Yes, I just wanted to just make share my perspective on the Joint Development Authority. Certainly when I wrote the portion last year, I did not intend to go into the redevelopment powers or any of that and touch joint development authorities. All I sought to do, and I think this bill does the same for the rest of the county, Atlanta actually brought this to me, the Atlanta Development Authority, asking to extend the same ability for them. All the bill does merely is permissively allow the rest of the cities in Fulton County to choose, particularly if they have their own development authority within their city limits, to opt out of the countywide development authority, which, by the way, is appointed by people who do not live in the city. And so, for example, in North Fulton, where we passed this last year, a couple of the cities have passed resolutions, exercising the rights the bill gave them, and others have not, because they don't have a municipal development authority, so they prefer to utilize the county development authority. Alpharetta wants to have the ability to utilize both their municipal development authority and the county development authority, because the county development authority is larger. I see it as just giving more options to the cities, respecting home rule, but it doesn't take anything away from anyone, and it does, in my opinion, it doesn't go into the joint development authority code.
Yeah, and that's a great point of clarification. And to your question again, if they decide, on a Microsoft warehouse, hey, we're going to pass this resolution, we're not going to hold hands with Fulton County, that doesn't stand for the rest of time. Amazon comes, or a football stadium, certainly the cities can't handle it. Most of them can't handle it. Most of the cities aren't even in a position to execute this resolution. We want to hold hands with Fulton County, but it's just in those cases where it becomes a dangerous property tax abatement issue for our budgets that we say, hey, we have it from here. So great clarification and great question from you as well.
Okay. Representative Mary Frances Oliver.
Williams?
Okay,
Okay, sorry. I
my
didn't know.
mistake for the day. Mary Frances Williams, you are recognized.
You're not the first. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there are so many other people that we need to hear, so many other entities that we need to hear from at this point. So many unanswered questions. I move to table.
Okay, I'm going to rule that out of order at this time. The purpose of that motion is to stop discussion, so that's not in order. We're going to proceed with the speakers that have signed up to speak. So, all right, the first speaker we have signed up is Councilwoman Linda Pritchett. If you'll please introduce yourself. And I must apologize to you. I sent you to the wrong room earlier today, so I'm glad someone corrected me.
Loop, so I found the right room. But
Okay,
it was a pleasure
proceed.
meeting you earlier. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Councilwoman Linda Pritchett from the great city of South Fulton. And I do want to first off start out making a clarification. I can attest to personally speaking to my Mayor Carmelita Gums. I spoke to personally Mayor Teresa Thomas from the city of Palmetto. I personally spoke to, in the parking lot when I was walking in here, to the new mayor of Fairburn, Hattie Portis Jones. I spoke to Mayor Vince Williams from the city of Union City on Saturday. And last night I spoke with Mayor Bianca Motley Broom from the city of College Park. Those are 5 mayors, which out of 8 in our region that I've spoken to, and that is over a majority of mayors that are very aware of this, as well as last week I spoke at the Fulton delegation meeting in which I spoke specifically on this topic. So the great city of South Fulton is 8 years old. We're the last city of Fulton County. We have over 120,000 residents. We have over 94 square miles. We have over 70% home ownership, which is above the national average. We have 60% underdeveloped land. That means 60% of our land is raw land, ripe for developers. We have 2 major industrial corridors, Fulton Industrial, which is the largest industrial corridor this side of the Mississippi, and Oakley Industrial Corridor that I happen to represent and share with the city of Fairburn and a small portion that Union City has. We started off as a city with a $94 million budget, and now we are over $430 million. We have 2 development authorities. Some of our development authority members are here today with me. I support this bill because in the last 90 days, Fulton County Development Authority has approved over $35 million in tax abatement that I was not aware of. I found out about it on Newsbreak. I'm not saying that that is a bad thing, but how it affected us is we did not get any say-so or any opportunity to negotiate a community benefit for our city. We work well with Fulton County, but at this time, we would like to have the opportunity to have the first approach on development that's coming to our city. And so for those reasons, I support this. I appreciate this bill. What's good for North Fulton, I'm sure is certainly good for South Fulton. And I will be open to answering any questions if anyone should have some.
Okay. Yes, we have one question. Representative Bazemore.
My phone, I'm sorry. My phone is doing its own thing. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony and your remarks. And I appreciate that you have done the work as a city council person and gotten information. However, when we are not aware of it, that's what creates an issue with us, because we are not aware, and we're the ones that have to vote on these bills and get them passed. So thank you.
Thank you. And Representative Bazemore actually represents part of the district. I represent District 7, and she represents some communities in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. We do have one more question. Representative Adesanya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your remarks. And I listened. From what I infer, it doesn't sound like it does any harm, right? If cities doesn't want it, they can elect not to participate in that, correct?
Absolutely. But the harm that it does if we are not given this option, when I say that $35 million was abated in tax revenues in our city, what that means is that our city is not going to receive $35 million in tax revenues for development that is happening within our city limits. And these are developers that these zoning cases, they come before the city council and the mayor for approval. And so just imagine, we want businesses to come in our city. We're growing by leaps and bounds. But if we don't get any of the benefit of the tax revenue for having them come, and in some situations, cities have to give incentives, or their deals that there need to be incentives made to attract businesses. But if there's a situation like these situations where we were not even able to negotiate a city benefit. And for the education of this committee, a city benefit could be where a traffic light is warranted, where sidewalk is warranted, where an acreage of land for a community building or some other type of investment that the community, who sometimes is opposed to development, so that they can feel that the developer is investing in our community. This is these are the reasons why we would like to be able to have the communication, be at the table, and make sure that this works for everyone, that our city doesn't just get the development and does not get the tax revenue to operate.
And as you mentioned, South Fulton got was 60% of untapped land, and it sounds like a win for y'all.
Yes, it will definitely be a win for us. We are the largest city of the 8 cities on the south side, outside of Atlanta.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Dana Tucker.
Good afternoon. It's Ashley Dana Tucker Davis, and while I'm an attorney, I'm here because I sit as the vice chair of the South Fulton Development Authority. Our city has 2 development authorities, and I am here with my co-board member, September Cooper. We are here because we want to speak in support of this bill, and so I took off from my job to come down here to tell you guys how important it is for this bill to match the prior bill. I feel that the prior bill was a great opportunity for the northern cities, and it will also be a great opportunity for the southern cities. And so I've listened today, and it came up, well, the other cities don't know about this. And so as far as the other cities, if they don't want to participate or they don't mind the Fulton County Development Authority abating taxes within their cities, then they don't have to do this. So their presence here today in support of or opposition is not as important as it is giving those of us who want the opportunity to pass a resolution to impact us. So our job as a development authority is to promote our cities. And so for City of South Fulton, we just launched our website, and our tagline is Choose South Fulton. But unfortunately, if developers go to the Fulton County to seek abatements, then we're asking people to choose South Fulton and we have no say-so. And I feel like the taboo term for the last 2 years is data centers. There are data centers that are being approved within our city, and they're getting tax abatements, and those things are being approved by the county without our elected officials and without our development authorities actually being aware of it. So what does that mean? That means that they're getting the benefit of not paying toward the franchise fees or whatever else is going on for our city, but they're approving these. And as someone said, a lot of the members of these individual counties, particularly Fulton County Development Authority, do not live in our cities. They do not live in our cities. They're not impacted by what we're dealing with. And so that's why I'm down here to speak about this. And I heard the option about tabling this. I think we have the right to choose, and we should be allowed to choose that. And if we table it, then it may not make it to crossover day, which means that it's a whole nother year before our southern cities can benefit from what the northern cities are benefiting from. And while we don't have statistics and data today, there have been success stories that we've heard about where the city councils are just in the loop and they know what's going on. They can answer and respond to their constituents. Development authorities, when someone comes to us and seeks a tax abatement, we say, what is the reason why our citizens are going to benefit, or our city is going to benefit from this tax abatement? Whether that's making them have jobs from businesses that are within our cities, or hiring people within our cities to man and do the work, or long-term contracts or whatever. We don't get that opportunity to do that when the county comes in and gives these tax abatements without our knowledge. And all we're asking for is the right to allow our city council to decide if they want to have a resolution or not. That will require some input and conversations between our development authorities and the county development authorities. And so that's my position on it.
Okay, Representative Bavesmore.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for your words. And I agree with everything you said. My only concern is, and I know it's been said several times, that the other cities are not here. If they don't know about it, they can't be here. That's my concern.
I guess my response to that is, if this bill passes and they were opposed to it because they didn't come down here today or they didn't come before you guys, then their city doesn't have to pass a resolution. And so therefore their city won't be impacted from their absence today or their failure to give their input on whether or not this bill is a good bill. And so that's my position, because my understanding is that all the mayors are aware, except for Palmetto, because Palmetto has an inactive development authority. So therefore, it's not relevant to the city of Palmetto because they don't have an active development authority. But all the rest of the cities are aware of it, and they could have sent a delegation. But even if they didn't, they could just ignore it because they don't have to pass a resolution to actually require Fulton County to engage with them. And that's my position on it. So they were aware of it. How they found out the news or what, I'm a lawyer, so I have to kind of toe the line on that, because, you know, how you get your knowledge about a lawsuit matters, right? But this isn't that. And so I'm a firm believer that they could always opt not to pass a resolution, and that's putting it in the hands of the actual elected officials and not leaving these decisions to appointed persons in Fulton County.
Follow, Mr. Chair.
And again, I appreciate everything you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying. I talked to lobbyists earlier, and we had the same discussion. My only concern really is that those that are going to be effective possibly have not been informed. So they can't, and I've heard it several times, they're not here. Well, if I don't know about something, I'm not going to be there if I'm not told about it. And so we have conflicting reports, because some are saying they were told, they were told this from this person and that person. And so those are my concerns, just to make sure everybody understands and knows about the bill and how it can affect them possibly. That was it. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next, Andrew Long.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm going to make my comments very brief. Thank you, Rep. Robert Dawson, for bringing this legislation. Andrew Long, A.R. Long Company. I am here representing the city of South Fulton, and I want to be very clear that the city of South Fulton is in favor. We are in very much support of HB 1386. I don't have to say things that have already been said before, but you should have two letters of support in your folders, one from the city of South Fulton, from the South Fulton Development Authority, and the other one from the South Fulton Downtown Development Authority, who are also in support of HB 1386. So the reason why we are in support of this legislation is because in the past, and you've heard this, but in the past 6 months, Development Fulton has granted $35 billion in tax abatements. And for those decisions, we were not at the table. So we support development, but we would like to have a voice and a choice in what is being approved. HB 1386 gives the governing authority of the city of South Fulton the option of adopting a resolution to limit the county development authority from operating in our municipality. Additionally, HB 1386 gives all Fulton cities equal and fair government transparency when it comes to each municipality's economic development goals. We are in support of HB 1386. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. I'm glad to answer any questions.
Okay, we do have one, Representative Adesanya.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rep. Dawson, did you mention that this is not the first time this bill was introduced? Was it introduced at any time prior to this session?
Yeah, last year this bill passed for the northern counties, and now we're excuse me. Now we're amending it for the southern and central parts of the.
One quick follow-up.
Yeah.
So, do you all know why that didn't go through the local delegation? Was it a general when it passed last year? Was it?
This is a bracket bill. It was already a general legislation when it first went in. So there's no new legislation for me to introduce. I'm just amending the legislation that's already there. So no need for local legislation.
And when it passed last year for North Fulton, you said that was on the general calendar.
General bracket bill, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, we got 3 more people signed up, and we're getting short of time, so I want to make sure everybody gets their point across, but let's keep it as brief as possible. Dr. Eloja Klemenich.
Aloisa Klemenich. Thank
sorry.
you so much. No worries. You have a letter that I've submitted, so I'm not going to repeat that. I will just highlight that per Title VIII, READY offers guidance for housing authorities. So this is just also allowing economic development authorities to offer in the same legal framework. And with that, I'd like to support HB 1386.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next, September Cooper.
Good afternoon. Just like to highlight $35 million has been lost. I'm sorry, I'm September Cooper from the city of South Fulton.
Okay, September Cooper from the city of South Fulton.
Yes,
Thank you.
with the Development Authority. Just like to, highlight the fact that $35 million has been lost to the Development Authority of Fulton County that could have gone to the city of South Fulton. It could have gone to Fulton County schools. It could have gone to our police and fire departments. Given that they've been given these 10-year tax abatements, it affects all of that. It affects the property taxes for our constituents, the infrastructure, such as the roads that get damaged by the amount of warehouses that the Fulton County Development Authority has approved, as well as air quality and other types of infrastructure, such as utilities, for the data centers that were approved that our constituents had no idea were even done. We found out after the fact. So instead of the 2 that we approved, we now have 7. There's 20 plus data centers that are in South Fulton at this point. So it's a lot that we need to work out and get things figured out. And if we have it to where it's home rule, then at least we know what's going on so that we can get back to our constituents and have what we'd like to have, not what the county would like to have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then our last speaker, Sarah Elizabeth Langford.
Yes. Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. I am Sarah Elizabeth Langford, the Executive Director of Develop Fulton, which is the Development Authority of Fulton County. And we have become the best state in which to do business because of our speed, our certainty, our discipline. And this bill threatens to put that at risk. It will restrict us as a county-wide authority and require additional layers of municipal approval. Partnership with cities is essential. That is part of how we operate, our standard operating procedure. Last month, my board approved a $500 million project, and we have an extremely strong support letter from the mayor of the host city. And I would love to share that with anyone. So I think that is part of the issue. Companies that are looking at locating in multiple different states, Georgia, Florida, Texas, they want a county-wide authority that appreciates city partnership, a county-wide perspective, and a statewide perspective. We work hand in hand with the state to keep us as the best state in which to do business. We have attracted projects like Boston Scientific, Alcon in Johns Creek, the largest contact manufacturer. These types of projects, we're looking at locating in many different states, and they appreciated an experienced development authority with city appreciation, county appreciation, and a statewide perspective. We've worked with the state to secure industries, life sciences, like Shriners, Children's Institute, Duracell Battery, R&D relocation, because a over 50-year-old development authority, and again, partnership with cities is essential. Sometimes there are municipal differing priorities within cities, mayors, city council, and that is why a county-wide perspective is so essential, to work hand in hand with cities, with the county, and with a statewide perspective. So again, we have so much appreciation for cities and for the perspective that cities want. And again, with the very last project, we have a strong support letter from the mayor of the host city, the mayor of the city here that we've heard from representatives. So we worked hand in hand. If there are any questions, perhaps there is a better way. We want to hold hands. I think Representative Dawson said that with the cities. So if there is a better process, then perhaps we can work out a better process to make sure a mayor of a city and council is aligned. But I don't think we need legislation to do that. My board approved a $700 million investment, and that was a company that was looking at multiple different states. We won it in Georgia, in Fulton County, because we had an experienced county-wide respected development authority. There are other projects like Comcast, Global Payments, Microsoft. They were looking at locating in Georgia across several different cities. So they came to an experienced county-wide development authority. So thank you for allowing me a few words. If there are any questions, thank you. And we look forward to continuing to work with all cities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. See no questions. All right. That's everyone who's signed up to speak. What is the will of the committee? We have a motion to pass. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Okay. I see none. All in favor of the passage of House Bill 1386, say aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, bill passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all we have on our agenda, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.